All righty, what's going on, everybody? Good morning. Actually, it's afternoon. It's 12:09
Yep.
Central.
Yep.
The drinking coffee threw me off. But for those of you tuning in now or in the future, welcome. Brandon and I have tried to do this now consistently, but we keep moving days and times. I think we've decided though on Wednesdays, right?
We
Isn't
decided
that
it
what we talked
last
about?
time that it was going to be Thursdays, but yep.
Jesus, yeah.
Just
So
keep being flexible.
Wednesdays. So our goal is Wednesdays at noon Central. And so what this is Brandon and I. Brandon heads up a lot of my content creation that you see, and he and I talk all the time. And Brandon and I were like, you know what, we need to have a place where we just have our conversations live, so people can kind of hear us think, and people can tune in on conversations and add their 2 cents. I mean, I think especially within my community, is I think a lot of people are interested in content. I think people have an appetite for it. I think people don't know how to get started and they don't know what to do. And so Brandon and I have started this coffee and conversations. We're not calling it a podcast, it's just more just a hangout session. But all that being said, welcome Taya and Andrew. But I wanted to first off, um, uh, Brandon, um, what coffee are you drinking right now? Because again, the reason why we call this coffee content conversation
Yeah.
because Brandon and I drink an insane amount of coffee, and I'm drinking coffee too right now.
This is my fourth cup of coffee for the day, and we're
Jesus
halfway through it.
Christ, dude.
Yeah. By the way, my Whoop, whatever hand it's on, tells me that I perform a lot better as a human being when I have caffeine within about 5 hours to go to sleep. And Taylor
That
can't
is
have.
that is absurd. That is absolutely absurd. Nobody should function better drinking caffeine before they go to sleep.
So this is a Nutty Pumpkin from Dunkin'. Even though Dunkin' was voted like the lowest quality coffee, I don't really care. It tastes delicious.
It tastes way better than Starbucks. I'll give you that much right now.
Yeah, that stuff is burnt. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
pay for burnt coffee. Madcap is probably
Madcap, I think, is the
I've ever had.
antithesis of Dunkin' Donuts. I think it's literally like the complete opposite.
Yeah. Yep.
And then,
Anyway,
and then
what do
I'm
you have?
drinking.
Yeah.
I'm drinking Barista Parlor. Barista Parlor makes a decaf cold brew. So this is decaf, but it tastes like cold brew, which is great. So I don't get
Nice.
the afternoon crash.
Yeah.
Sophia, it's good to see you, girl.
Thanks, Sophia. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna talk content for a few minutes. Two things that have been on
Both-
my mind.
By the way,
Again,
we both look like we're in bunkers. We're not. We're at work.
yeah. It's not the end of the world. I went to the office, and everything is natural light right now, and it's just not that bright. So, so Brandon and I don't really do a lot of prep for this. So the two things on my mind is one, I think a lot of people want to get started in content, but they're not disciplined enough. And then I think the second thing I wanted to talk about was what was the second thing? I've already forgotten the second thing. What was the second
I
thing?
don't know, but that was probably going to take up the whole time anyway. Because
Okay,
we're only
okay.
doing this for like 15 minutes. But yeah, I mean, my question to you, Taylor, would be like, a lot of people, they want to do content and there's 30 different reasons why they might not. If you finally are convinced and you want to do it, how do you actually make it something that's a staple, something that is so important to you that it's like actually blocked out in your calendar, where it's as important as conferences or meetings or other things that we always have in our business?
Yeah, I think to be diligent, I think you got to set a calendar invite and it's got to be recurrent. When I started my content journey with you back when COVID hit, I blocked out 8:30 to 9 o'clock every day to make a LinkedIn post. And it was just one LinkedIn post. Now it's like
30 minutes.
16,000. Now it's like 16,000. Yeah, it's like all day. But because that's
What the heck
obviously
took
my
you
job
30
now.
minutes to write a post?
Well, so I'm going to push back on that. Like a lot of people, but the thing is, it's 30 minutes. It doesn't take the whole 30 minutes, but it's at least blocking it out on the calendar. So nothing eats into it, and so on and so forth. So for me, though, I think people who are starting, I think you got to figure out what you want to do. I think a lot of people on here, like Tay, Andrew, Sophia, we're all on LinkedIn right now. I do think LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is going to become more of a hot platform, especially with X and Twitter being volatile. Outside of Twitter/X, there's no other platform that's heavy writing, and that's also professional. That's just than LinkedIn. That's especially short form content. I think a lot of people, I think like long form There's just Substacks and there's Mediums for that, Medium articles, but I think the short form's where it's at. So I think if I were you and I would get started, I would first off come up with what you want to talk about, Monday through Friday, and come up with some topics or themes. So for example, right, I'm gonna give a quick example. If you are a developer and you just want to talk about the things you're passionate about, let's use the React framework, right? So on Mondays, I would talk about what I've done within React. On Tuesdays, I would talk about potentially something you're researching React. On Wednesdays, I would talk about a project, or something that you've seen in an article potentially that you're going to try to apply to the real world, right? So that's just right off the top of my head. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, boom, right there, right? And so I would just keep it consistent. But it's just like working out. It's just like running a marathon. It's going to be hard to start, and you're probably not going to stick with it unless you're very intentional with it.
I think a lot of people confuse what content actually is as well, because they think, oh, it's got to be this highly produced thing. You decide you'd sit down for 30 minutes. Oh my God, does that mean I need a big camera and an editing rig and I need to know all these things that I've never had to do before? No.
I mean, you and I look like we're in bunkers right now.
Right?
We're live.
Literally what we're doing right now. So
yeah.
I mean, TikTok, there was a time where I literally thought that TikTok might, and it still kind of has with CapCut, because that's a TikTok product, that it would replace Premiere and all these other kind of NLEs that we've traditionally used for making videos. And it has. I mean,
right.
There are filters and all sorts of stuff built in. When you're talking about like reacting to something that might be in the news or something like that, or like, hey, here's this new feature that came out and I want to implement it in my workflow. Here's a piece of content about me talking about how I'm going to do it. Literally, it's built in for you to take a snapshot or a screenshot on your phone of that article, use the green screen feature so that it's behind you, and you're just showing the New York Times or like whoever came out with this article, and you're like, hey, did you guys see this article just came out last night?
And that's something else too.
X, Y, Z, and here's what I'm going to do with it, and then you explain it, and that's literally it. And I think the number one thing is people say like, well, I don't know how to do TikTok. It's like, open the thing and press the buttons. There's no cheat sheet. You have to eventually open the thing and press the buttons and try.
Yeah. For me, you know, it's awesome you brought that up. And Chris, what's up, buddy? Chris actually just started a new role as a dev advocate at a DevOps opportunity. So congrats, buddy. And Chris is obviously a pretty, does a lot of content creation as well. You know, I'm glad you brought that up. So I was on a live yesterday with Jermaine Murray. Jermaine Murray runs a small boutique agency out of Toronto. And, you know, Jermaine and I were talking about how to network in today's world. And I love you brought up the green screen, because I think the green screen is very, very underrated feature. So everybody who's watching this, you don't even have to come up with content. You can screenshot a bunch of articles on your phone and green screen and put your thoughts around every single article and post it, and that'll do it well.
Yeah, if you literally learned one effect on your phone,
green screen
would be green screen all day, every day.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris, Madcap all day, every day.
Yeah, I know.
Wish. We don't really have that here in Lexington. I got this shirt from Grand Rapids, but like I think that's the biggest barrier is so many people they believe in content, whether it's for themselves or their business, but they really just won't open it up and press the buttons, and they're not willing to look stupid. You know what I mean? And it's like the biggest thing, if you want to get started and you're not sure how, and you're like, I don't know, TikTok doesn't work, or like, I don't know how to use it and all that stuff, go through the motions of making the content and just don't press publish if that's what you have to do. Right. Go through the emotions.
But it's a muscle.
The thing, press the buttons, make mistakes, shut your phone down, press the wrong thing, and like make a phone call by accident. Like do all that stuff and just figure it out.
Well, and I realized what I was going to talk about. The other topic is nobody has come to me and has told me they have regretted putting out content. Nobody has come to me 6 months later and been like, bro, this shit has torpedoed my career. I'm never doing it again. Everyone's like, I wish I would have started sooner.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I would say, the one caveat would be cancel culture, which is real. And it depends on what kind of content you're putting out. Most people are putting stuff out that's, not going to get you canceled. It might be controversial within your niche or industry, and you're saying something that a lot of people don't necessarily believe, and whatever. But
Right.
yeah, at a certain point, you do have to, if you're really going to make content that resonates with you and what you believe, you have to make content about what you believe. And a lot of times we think things that are counter to what others believe. And that's okay. And it's okay to make that content and put it out there and not play in the middle, but to take a hard stance and understand, okay, half the people in the room might not agree with me. The other half might. That's okay. It's starting a discussion. It's firming up what you actually believe. It's really important to do that.
Yeah. So Taya comes in. No, I love it, Chris. Congrats. I've also seen people prefer not to follow people from their personal life to start. They say it takes off. They take some of the pressure off. I've also seen people prefer not to follow people from
Yeah,
their
I mean,
personal life.
yeah. Well, I think a lot of people do this, especially whenever there's like a career change and they know that people know them to be a certain thing, or maybe to Taya's point, if most people know you to be an introvert and now you're putting content out, which is naturally looks extroverted, that is counter to what people know you to be, and that can be really uncomfortable to know that you're being seen that way, which is, we all kind of know how certain people in our lives probably are meant to us. So when we start doing things that go counter to that, that can be very uncomfortable. And yeah, content, putting it out, that can be really weird. Especially for like the most, the closest people to you, starting to see you actually do that, but that's okay. Yeah, and I do that myself.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this as we wrap up here again. We just want to keep this short and sweet.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a lot of people within my ecosystem start to do vlogs, and while I'm a huge fan of the vlog, I do it every day myself. People need to be careful with that. A vlog is one piece of content you can do, is one style of content. And Brandon, I've talked about this, I think in our last live, whenever we did this recently, was people need something else to be bought into you before you start doing the vlog style. And so for me, I would say if you're interested in doing the vlog thing, I'm not going to tell you no, but I think it's more effective if you put out content professionally around a certain topic and build some sort of following, then do the vlog. Brandon, I think you said a little bit more eloquently than.
Yeah, I mean, basically,
I'm not saying don't do it. If you want to do it, do it.
Yeah. Well, you and I both totally agree that all of this stuff is a form of a marketing funnel.
Yeah.
Awareness and consideration and conversion, right?
Yeah.
The awareness part is like whenever you don't really have a name, going out and trying to give people as much context around your life as possible might not be the best start, because, well, they really need a singular, narrow focus about like, well, why should I care about this person?
Right.
And whenever you do that around something that you're professional and an expert at, and you can give me a lot of how-tos and a lot of expert, insight into something, that's something very tangible and active that I can take immediately from that piece of content and implement, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And you give me enough of that kind of stuff, and I go, wow, that person's an expert at that thing. Over time, we're building that trust, and we know that that person is my go-to for something like this, or one of my go-tos for this kind of information. Yeah. And the more that we trust that person, the more we go, I wonder what else they're up to. A lot of times we'll see the influential people in our industry doing stuff, and it's nice to have a little bit more context on them, not just as a professional in that one narrow thing that we know them for, but to have more context with their lifestyle. How do they doing all this stuff? How does Taylor make all this content? He's a dad, he's a husband, he goes to Italy for 2.5 weeks. How in the world do you start a job? How do you get a job within 30 days of leaving a previous one? Like, what is all of that context? And being able to give people that more middle of the funnel content after they have all the context on you as an expert, there's one foot after another is kind of the way to go. And after people really know who you are and that sort of thing, then it makes sense to maybe and you start to feel it out. Like the conversion part in the content world can often be either digital products. It could be people reaching out saying, hey, I want to do a one-on-one with you and kind of pick your brain on how you do XYZ. Those things can be conversions.
Right.
And you start feeling like those moments of like the DMs are picking up. Wow, I feel like I'm getting more emails or DMs or something, or comments where people are trying to reach out to me. That's when you know you've moved, to various parts of that funnel.
Yeah,
Was
absolutely. Let's wrap up on this one.
Yeah. Do you think it's important for content to be focused around one topic? I post every day, but it's different topics at different time. I wonder if it confuses people. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few ways to kind of handle this. And I'm not really the biggest believer of like follow some sort of cookie cutter structure. A lot of times creators will create with like doing what they think the audience wants. A lot of creators make things that they want and they couldn't care less what the audience has to say. There are people
it's really a crapshoot. I think
it's really what you are most comfortable with. It's like,
I think that's the key, because you're going to get burnt out.
Yeah. I mean, the other part to that, what I just said goes counter to what I said a moment ago. And I understand that, where if you have this thing that's like a marketing funnel, if you will. So to go from awareness to consideration to a conversion, that's a very intentional, purposeful action. Now, Andrew, if you want to go and put content out there that's just, I like to hike, I like food, and I like going to movies, and I'm in tech, and you share all four of these kind of things together, understand that you're really kind of starting at that bottom, because you've sort of fragmented. Like people that don't like movies, but they might like some of the other things, are going to be turned off a tiny bit. So you've really started with like a very narrow audience that you're going to land, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. You just have to accept and understand that that's what you're doing, and that your following is going to be slow and methodical. And it's not going to be huge, but the people that do follow you really do believe in those four things that you like. Other people might want to start much more broadly in the manner that I said a moment ago, which is very narrow about one particular thing being, area of their life, their professional career, talking all things tech. You can talk about all the things that in tech, but it's still just tech. It's not the movies, it's not the coffee, it's not the other stuff I said. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you just have to understand what you want to happen, accept the consequences of whichever choice you decide to go with. To Taylor's point, there's a level of being comfortable with what you're putting out. I would challenge people that just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's bad. Sometimes it's a muscle that you have to learn to exercise. And it might be uncomfortable not because of what it is, but because you haven't done it before.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to consider with all of this.
And here's the deal: Brandon and I, we're just one slice. We're one slice of the pie. Brandon said this best. He goes, content creation is like giving somebody a ball and saying, go play. And you're like, what sport? And they go, I don't know, just make it up. And so we're making it up as we go.
I really don't remember saying that. You've said that.
It was the best analogy ever.
I really
it was the best. It was the best analogy. So
I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't know if I even said that, but
yeah, no, you did. Yeah, but so Andrew, I just think, right now, just create, see what works, test, try. I think that's the problem with content is traditional marketing wants to get it right before they put it out, and content creation is really the antithesis of that, which is basically like, we're just going to start putting stuff out and see what hits and see what doesn't. So
yeah, exactly. Cool. Thanks everybody for chilling with us. We're going to try
to hang with us
Wednesday again, 12 Central, 1 Eastern, right?
Yep.
Cool. We'll see how long that lasts. We're probably going to move.
Seriously.
All right. Have a good one. We'll see you.
See y'all.